909 Big 550 KTRS. Well, if you want to talk about what is great about St. Louis, you've come to the right place. Kelly Jackson from KSDK Channel 5 is with us.
Good morning.
Good morning this morning. You've been filling in, having a good time. Casey Joyce is back here in studio. Good morning, Casey.
Good morning, McGraw.
You're not here as a co-host. You're here as a guest, I guess.
I am here accompanying
the guest. Yes. Your people are here as well. You work for Cultivation Capital.
I do.
Which is a venture capital company.
That's true.
Also formerly of KSDK Channel 5, so it's kind of like old home week here.
That's right, reunion.
It's a reunion.
Do you have any?
Feels good.
Do you have any scoop on Kelly Jackson you can fill us in on?
What? Nothing safe for air.
No.
Thanks a lot, Casey.
Just kidding.
Also with you is Cliff Holekamp. Cliff, you are the general partner of Cultivation Capital.
I am.
What is Cultivation Capital?
Cultivation Capital is an early-stage venture capital fund, and we're located right here in downtown St. Louis.
And what's the idea of this capital fund?
Well, we look for high-potential technology companies, not idea stage, the ones that have built the product but are looking to grow it. And we try to find the best companies in the region, invest in them, and help them become successful.
But Cultivation
Here.
I'm sorry, my ear. I thought you said that there was so much great business activity going on here, you don't need to look other places.
That's true. We actually have taken serious looks at companies outside of St. Louis, but truth is the deal flow has been so great here. There hasn't been reason to have the extra hassle of trying to manage out-of-town companies.
When you went out and raised funds, you go to really rich people and rich. You know this better than I do. How do you raise money for something like this?
Oh, it's
and where do you go to, and what's the pitch to these people?
Right. Well, it's mostly from personal networking. So people hear about us and they approach us, and we tell them about what we do. And a lot of the people who are investors, which are called limited partners in a venture capital fund, or we call them LPs, a lot of them are from the entrepreneurship community. They're entrepreneurs themselves or successful business people, and they want to do something to get engaged and involved in the startup community in St. Louis.
How much money have you raised?
We have our fund for our tech fund is a $20 million fund, and we have another fund for life sciences, which is a $30 million fund.
And the premise when you go to these people and ask for the money is that the idea is you're going to invest in St. Louis companies, or you're going to invest in companies wherever you find them, they just so happen they're in St. Louis?
Our premise is we make the best investments that we can make.
Gotcha.
And they've just happened to be in St. Louis.
Okay, so when a company comes to you and makes their pitch, is it like high, very nervous? I can imagine what it's like for them. You know, they have their business on the line. They need the money. So what attracts you to a certain business? What makes you want to invest in them?
Well, that is an interesting part of the job is getting the pitches and working with entrepreneurs. A lot of the times when people pitch us, it's not really a validation of the company or not. It's usually about, are they ready? Are they in the stage in the company where it makes sense to make an investment yet? So often if we say no, it's genuinely often not that we don't like the idea or we don't like the team. It's that the timing isn't quite yet, or we think you've got other options for financing. So really when people pitch us, there's a big consultative part to it. But what we look for is our mantra is product, revenue, and traction. So we look for a completed project, a product. We are not looking for just ideas. And we're looking for some kind of feedback from customers. We want to see that people actually are willing to pay money for this in revenue. They're probably not profitable yet, but we do want to see that people are willing to pay for it, and there's customer feedback and traction, which, quite frankly, I'm not sure what that means. And we spend a lot of time debating and arguing in our meeting what traction means. It's something different for every company.
All right, so you want to wade into the Rick Perry controversy? He's running commercials saying Texas is a great place to start and to move a business. Would you like to comment?
Sure. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank KTRS for not running those ads. I think that shows a lot of integrity that you care about the content of your advertisers. So that's, as a St. Louisan, I appreciate that. At the same time, I tell Rick Perry, bring it on. I'm not afraid of what he has to say. The business community here in St. Louis is outstanding. I can speak specifically for entrepreneurship. And there's a great entrepreneurial community in Austin, and I think that that St. Louis is at the point now where we can go toe-to-toe with Austin any day.
So you think the business climate being what it is, we have nothing to be ashamed of, we have nothing to feel sorry for, we have no reason, companies have no reason to move to Texas?
Well, it depends on the industry, right? If somebody was creating a product that serves the cattle industry or oil and gas, there might be a reason. So I think there's always a lot of specific circumstances which might dictate, a certain location.
Gotcha.
For example, we've launched a financial services accelerator called 630, which capitalizes on all of the financial services companies in St. Louis. So, Texas has certain industries where they have clusters and
Sure.
advantages, and it might make sense. But on just strict business environment, St. Louis actually has a lot of the same advantages that Texas has.
That's Cliff Holekamp. I'm sorry, Cliff. You're with Cultivation Capital, general partner. You're here along with Casey Joyce. Kelly Jackson's here firing questions at you guys. Let's get to some of the companies you guys have invested in. First, let's start with Earbuds, which is I did not know this until Casey was in here a couple weeks ago. I use them when I go to the gym.
Oh, good.
That's a locally owned company.
It is.
And it started here.
It was started here. Started at Washington University in one of the classes that I teach called The Hatchery. Seth Burgett, the founder, was a WashU MBA student, and when he graduated, he founded this company. They are now the #1 selling sport earphone in the country and still growing unbelievably. They're doing really well.
When did you find them, and then when did you fund them?
Well, I first knew about this company before it even started.
Okay.
Back when it was just an idea and he was, pitching his business plan. We invested a little over a year ago. So they were one of our later stage investments. They already were showing great traction.
Right.
So on the traction scale, they were doing great. So they were definitely a worthy investment.
And it's earbuds. They're earphones, or they're ear socks for your earbuds, I guess, right?
Exactly. Well, what's unique about earbuds is that the founder, Seth, and his co-founder, Rich, are both triathletes and marathon runners. And they realized that after a long workout, the thing that hurt them most on their body was their ears from their iPod earphones. And so what they did was they created one that worked with an audiologist to create ones that don't fall out and they don't hurt. So they are shaped ergonomically to the inside of the ear, deliver the best sound because it fits right, and they don't fall out. There's a special twist and lock system that they have that keeps them in when you're running.
And how big is that company?
It's really big. They are they're in every major retailer. They're in Walmart, Target, Best Buy. You pretty much can walk into any store that sells consumer electronics and find earbuds.
So obviously the companies that you invest in have the traction, the need, the need for the market for something like this. It sounds like, though, you have quite a bit of diversity when it comes to investing in some of these companies, right?
We do.
It's quite different.
Yeah, we've got they all are generally technology companies. They all in the field of tech, but we've got social media, software, consumer electronics. So it's pretty diverse within the tech umbrella.
Right.
TrackBill. What's that company?
TrackBill's a great company. It was founded by a 22-year-old college student coming out of University of Illinois, and his co-founder was actually only 17. Your absolute classic computer genius, programmer. And they came to St. Louis first to participate in Capital Innovators, which is an accelerator program that we work with a lot. And also, they stayed here. They were actually going to go back to Springfield or to Champaign, but won an Arch Grant. And Arch Grant is a international business plan competition which lures great startups into the city with startup financing and introduction to the community. And it worked in the case of TrackBill. And what they do is they track legislation. So anybody right now, any of your listeners can go to trackbill.com and they can track 5 bills for free, do key search words. So I'm right now tracking angel investing because there's several bills that have to do with startup investments in Missouri. So I'm tracking angel investing for Missouri and the federal government. So it's pretty cool. I get an update every time there's an action on the bill or every time there's a vote on the bill or an amendment, and I know exactly what's going on.
What about Hatchback? What's Hatchback?
Hatchback is a software that small businesses use for Salesforce sales automation. So they track campaigns, email campaigns, customer campaigns, and it's a way for small businesses to keep up on their leads that they get for their businesses.
So are these mainly young people who are starting out these startups, or does it run the gamut as far as age?
Tends to be younger.
Mhm.
One of the unique things about, I think, the St. Louis entrepreneurship community is it is a very youthful community. It's just part of the culture here. So we tend to see a skew towards a little bit younger because that's kind of what the community looks like. Yeah.
That's Cliff Holekamp is with us. He is with Cultivation Capital. 2 funds. One's a business and then one's life sciences.
Yep.
We'll get to the life sciences here for a minute. You can stick around for a couple more minutes?
Sure.
All right. Casey Joyce is with us as well. Wish I would have shaved and sort of gotten a better suit or worn a suit or something.
What, you wouldn't have done that just for me?
Well,
Only if
you got
Casey
some
and Cliff
highfalutin
come in?
millionaires in here. You want to look good, right? 9:18 here on the Big 550 KTRS. We're talking about St. Louis companies, a venture capitalist firm, this Cultivation Capital. They're investing in St. Louis companies. Rick Perry, you should be listening to this because St. Louis is a great place to start a business. Cliff Holekamp is with us. He's with Cultivation Capital, talking about these investor funds that are doing great here in St. Louis. Casey Joyce works for Cultivation Capital, so she's here as well, along with Kelly Jackson from KSDK Channel 5, who is having fun peppering them with questions. Cliff, you told us on the break that Forbes came out with a list of what now? What was this?
They just published a list of the top 12 venture capital funds in the Midwest, and St. Louis had 2, which was really a strong showing. Cultivation Capital was the first mentioned on the list. Now, in full disclosure, it said that the list was in no particular order, but we were written first, so I figure that makes us number 1, right?
Right. It was alphabetical.
Absolutely.
Well, no, Ascension was on there.
Yeah, actually, Ascension Health Ventures was the other one from St. Louis, and they start with an A.
So
But
you're not
on
saying
the
anything,
list.
but right. Okay. How many Texas venture capital companies are on this
There
list?
were none.
None?
There were none.
Wah, wah.
Interesting. Interesting. All
Of
right.
course, Texas is not in the Midwest, but we'll let that
By
go.
some definitions, it could be.
It could be.
All right,
North
let's get to
Texas.
some of these other companies because the list goes on and on. Gainsight. What is Gainsight?
Gainsight is another software package that does add-ons for Salesforce automation. So different market than Hatchbuck. What's actually exciting about Gainsight is that they had a partial exit on that investment. So another venture capital firm from California, Battery Ventures, actually bought out half of our interest. So we've actually made a return to our investors based on selling part of that company. But the good news is we still have some left because we're really excited about this company.
Gotcha. All of these companies we're mentioning are here in St. Louis.
They are.
Yeah,
Yep, they're all
okay.
in St. Louis.
TuneSpeak. What's
TuneSpeak is very cool. In fact, some of your listeners might want to check that out. That is a social media platform for music and for music lovers. And bands, a lot of popular bands I've never heard of, quite frankly. Casey probably knows them very well. Do campaigns, and they do contests and give away tickets. A band last weekend gave away an entire cruise. Got
Michael Franti.
incredible statistics based on that, and it's a way for bands to engage and interact with fans.
Casey was showing me this. Bands, let's say I'm a Barry Manilow fan, just hypothetically speaking.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he's on TuneSpeak. Not
Yes,
yet.
yes,
Not
not
yet.
yet.
But he should be. Assuming he's
Maybe.
on TuneSpeak, he can interact directly with me and all sorts of ways, T-shirts and mugs and hats and tickets and things like that. So it's a way for the bands to interact directly with their fans.
It is. It's a way for them to do promotions and contests that rewards their best fans. So the fans can do things like, post things about the band to their social media accounts, and to create value for that band. So,
Right.
There's a story, TuneSpeak, on that contest that you were talking about last week, the Michael Franti contest, that they ran this contest. This woman entered because she's a huge Michael Franti fan. She got 12 of her friends to support and kind of promote her on this contest. Throughout the scope of the contest, she influenced 635 people to find out about Michael Franti, including one person, one of her friends, that she sent his music, who's battling a terminal disease, has been bedridden. She sent his music to kind of cheer him up. The music was so great, it actually inspired him to get out of bed and dance, which was amazing. So she ended up inspiring all these people, winning a cruise, and racking up like 135,000 points on TuneSpeak.
Right. Now, TuneSpeak
I don't think
is...
that would happen in Texas, by the way.
It wouldn't.
but TuneSpeak, give us a sense of how big or how fast TuneSpeak is growing.
TuneSpeak is in the early stages, so they are growing fast. Basically, their traction is really dependent on the bands that they recruit. So every time they get a popular band like the last one, they make huge numbers.
Gotcha.
Now, do you? Sorry to interrupt, but do you also not only give them financial support, these startups, but do you give them advice, business support? Because you want them to do
Yes.
well, obviously.
We do. We
'cause you wanna
take a
get you
very
money.
active role. It's part of our investment criteria is we take a board seat. Most of these companies we talk to almost every single day.
Food Essentials, who are they?
Food Essentials is in big data. They've got one of the largest databases in the world of food ingredients, including the allergens and whether it's organic or not, or you might think it's organic and it's not. And they use that information to help companies better understand marketing objectives or research objectives. One of their biggest customers, actually the FDA, uses this data for research. So this is a pretty cutting-edge company here in the world of big data and using information to try to make better decisions.
Another St. Louis company, Aisle 411.
Yes, Aisle 411 is also very cutting-edge company. They're in the space of indoor mapping. So if you think about GPS over the last 10 or 15 years and how that's grown to be such a huge part of our lives, we've already mapped every street in the world. They've even have companies that map outdoor trails and paths. And really the last frontier for mapping is indoors. And what Aisle 411 does is works with major retailers to map the locations of merchandise inside the stores. So when you want to know, where do I find XYZ, if you're at Home Depot and say, I can't find the hammers, you can actually go to their app and find exactly where the hammer is inside Home Depot. It'll give you directions to that location.
Vital when the local schnooks decides to rearrange all the shelves and you can't find mayonnaise.
They exactly, and they actually keep up with the store's actual software. So when they move that, they update their software and it updates Aisle 411.
All right. Anything else we should ask about?
Locker Dome is a really exciting company that's
Yes.
very consumer oriented. That is the fastest growing social media site for sports in the world. They have over 14 million monthly unique users. 14 million.
Goodness.
It's a big deal. It's a very big deal that Locker Dome is here in St. Louis.
What does this mean for St. Louis? Having all of these successful startups and the future of St. Louis in the business world.
Well, I think that
Really competitive. I
St.
would
Louis
say.
has a history of being entrepreneurial. A lot of these great companies that are here started out as small entrepreneurial ventures. And what we don't want to forget to do is always to be growing the next generation of small ventures that'll grow into the future Anheuser-Busch's and enterprises of the world. So,
Cliff Holekamp with us for a couple more minutes. The Cultivation Capital Fund, he's the general partner talking about all of the companies that he invested in that are based right here in St. Louis. Is there a company that you looked at and you got back to the office and you sat around at that table and you're like, I don't get it, and then it took off and you missed out?
well, there will be. I guarantee it. So since our fund is only a year and a half old, the jury is still out on most of the companies that we've looked at. But I certainly hope so. We don't have the capacity to invest in every startup in St. Louis, and we want everyone to be successful.
Can money hurt a startup company?
Great question. Yes, actually, sometimes you do not do them a favor by overfunding them. It's the old give them enough rope to hang themselves kind of problem.
Because they get the money and they don't know what to do with it. They've lived hand to mouth for 2 or 3 years and it's growing and they get this money and they lose their
It
mind.
could negatively impact the company culture that helped them get to where they were at that point.
Any particular company that you would like to invest in that you've heard of and they just haven't come to you yet, or this is your opportunity?
We have a pretty good handle of what's going on. But if there are if there are any companies out there that don't know us, they can certainly go to our website and learn more about our investment criteria.
I'm sure there are companies you would love to invest in, but don't need money right now and say thank you very much, but we're not interested.
There are.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right, which I'm sure just like women, when a woman wants to date you and you say no, it drives them crazy. With a venture capitalist, you must not hear no very often, right? You're the ones deciding. So it's a change of focus for you a little bit.
It can happen, absolutely. It goes both ways. You need two people to agree to have a date, right?
Or a man who wants to date a woman and it drives the man crazy because the woman doesn't want to go out.
men are told no all the time.
We get used to it.
Right.
That is true.
Women aren't told no. See, venture capitalists aren't told no, right? Venture capitalists say, I have money for you. I'm going to take you to the next level. Thank you very much. We don't need it. That's an odd position to be in.
The truth is not every company needs venture capital.
Right.
Some are able to grow and do it organically through their own profits, right? That they can finance their own growth. A good friend of mine started a company called ShipWorks, which does shipping software, and they never took a penny of outside capital. Now, it took them 10 years to grow to the company they are today, so it's not the fast way to do it, but they own 100% of the company at that end.
ShipWorks just put a big logo on their building downtown that you can see from Busch Stadium. What does ShipWorks do?
They do. That's a software platform for small businesses and home businesses to manage their shipping. So if you operate a small store and you need to keep track of who needs to be shipped what and when does it get there and how did I get paid for this, and their software does all this, and it connects with the U.S. Post Office and UPS and FedEx, so all that information is at the tip of your fingers.
And
that's
how much
great.
of a percentage of the company do you own? And once they've made that money that you've invested in, and then are they on their own?
Right. So it all depends. So what we do when a company pitches us, if we want to invest, we come up with an evaluation. So we try to determine, and we have to have an agreement with the entrepreneur about what their company is worth. So if we think a company is worth $2 million and we want to invest $1 million, that would give us half of the company. So that's how we negotiate and determine how much we get. In most cases, we don't really make money on the investment until the company gets sold to somebody else. We usually don't plan on making money through the profits or the cash flow of the business. Ultimately, our payback is that company needs to be sold to someone else. So if you're starting a company that your dream is to be a family business to pass on to your kids, venture capital probably is not a good fit, because we have to have some kind of exit in order to get paid back and then to pay back our investors.
Is it selling to the next private company, or is it going public, or is it either one or both?
It could be either one. Right now, the most likely way for us to get an exit is a corporate acquisition, that it's a big company that sees this small company could be additive to their strategy and they'd buy it.
Cliff Holekamp, what's the website for people to find out more?
CultivationCapital.com.
Lastly, just your last thoughts as you watch what's gone on the last couple of days with Rick Perry's ads. You're in here talking about all these great companies. What do you want people listening to this interview? What do you want them to take from what you've seen on the front lines of business and raising money and the future of St. Louis businesses?
Well, I think I teach business at WashU, and I think that sometimes people are too focused on strictly some of the financial issues and the metrics, and they don't realize that people are humans like everyone else, and entrepreneurs are humans like everybody else, and they make decisions based on a lot of factors. And one of the biggest one is the culture and the community, and that's something that has really changed in St. Louis in the last couple of years. Is the entrepreneurship community has just gelled. When I started my company, I started a company in 2001. And I just started it. There was no community. I was just kind of out there on my own, a lot of nice people willing to help. But what's changed is that there's this vibrant community. I mean, there's a culture of entrepreneurship going on downtown, and people want to be a part of that, and that's really exciting. And so I don't want to get so focused on tax rates or cost of living when ultimately people want to be around other like-minded people doing exciting things. They want to be part of a vibrant, fun, urban, creative, innovative community. And that's what St. Louis is offering right now.
Seattle's known for its thing. San Francisco's known for its thing. Is St. Louis, with some of these locker domes and your funds and Twitter and all that, is St. Louis creating a little niche of its own out there?
We are. We're not Silicon Valley yet. We just aren't. And
Right.
that's good. We're doing it our way. And it does look different. It's a little bit of a younger community. Kelly and I were talking about that off air, that we have a very youthful entrepreneurship community. It's definitely a little bit more creative and alternative. There is a lot of sports, that reflects the passion for
Sure.
sports in the Midwest. So we see more of that than you do in California, where sports isn't as big of a deal. And it's real bootstrappy. People aren't afraid to roll up their sleeves and get to work and create amazing things on a pretty capital efficient basis. So,
And on Midwestern values.
yeah, I mean, you really see a combination of this innovation, but still grounded in that kind of Midwestern value.
That's Cliff Holekamp with Cultivation Capital, general partner, along with Casey Joyce. What do we have to do to get Casey a raise over there?
She's doing all the right things
All
already.
right, good, just to make sure. All right, come back. You're always welcome. We're
Thank
always love to talk about new businesses and anything new you want to talk about, or exciting things, or you need us to lean on a politician or two. We're happy to
Sounds
help
good.
you out. You got it. That's Cliff Holekamp. The website is cultivationcapital.com.
Yep.
Cultivationcapital.com. 9:36. Casey Joyce and I will continue. We're going to Skype
Kelly.
Kelly Jackson. I'm sorry.
Wrong
Casey.
co-host.
All right. We're going to come back and we're going to Skype with Michael Goldie, who's at Ballpark Village, maybe Cultivation Capital would like to see our television show with 4 HD cameras here in studio when we Skype all across the country, including with Michael Goldie live from Ballpark Village. We'll do that next in the Big 550.